And in today's video, we're going to have a look at the box of power.
This journey began as a conversation about 80s nostalgia and why we felt that He-Man was the perfect idea for a wargame. CMON had a very similar idea. My name is Jason the Bruce. I've been a critic of CMON, and this is my journey into the Masters of the Universe Clash for Eternia.
And I figured for these following videos, I'm just going to jump straight into the unboxing. If you haven't seen the first video, then feel free to check it out. I'll try to remember to put a link up here. I talked in that a little bit about why this game was so important to me. It did come from a couple of different perspectives. I'm very much a skeptic when it comes to the CMON stuff. Not because of the quality of their games, that they've proven that they can put out good games multiple times. It's more the exploitation of Kickstarter that I have the issue with. So I had very mixed opinions on this because this is something I very much wanted to exist before it was announced. And then it got announced not long after I had the conversation, and then it turned out CMON was doing it. So I did back it. I had mixed feelings about, and kind of like fears, honestly, about how I would feel about it. So this is our box of power. This is largely a miniatures expansion, this one. But from here, we will get a few different things. So there's a few extra objectives and stuff down here. We've got Panther just as a character by himself. Battlecat as a character by himself. This is where we get the King and Queen. We get our Prince Adam. This is where we get Swiftwind without it being on She-Ra. We've got a whole heap of hero expansions up here and a whole heap of villain ones down here. These ones here are little mini ones. This is essentially your unlocks box, is essentially what this is. So we start off with our scenario book. Like the other ones, I'm not going to be going into the details on this. I don't want to ruin or spoil anything within this book for those that don't want to have it spoiled. Likewise, I don't want to spoil it for myself because I'm not up to that point in the game yet. We've got some more card terrain here. As well as a few extra villain tokens. And some hero tokens. I find this interesting because, like, you're getting the minis in these boxes. Why would you ever use the tokens? I don't quite get that. We have 6 decks of cards. These are very much going to be like the ones from the first game. So this will be our character and our AI cards for our heroes. This is going to be the controller deck and the player deck. They say the same thing, but what you will find is that these will be mixed between controller and player cards. These are your items for the game. And this is more items for the game. And then this, we've got a couple of different things in here, but it's mainly terrain and so forth. This I like. This is a place to hold your tokens. Love that. So the thing I really like about this is again made extra room for expansion. It looks like in this that you could genuinely fit most, if not all, of the cards from the other boxes in this as well. It's going to be interesting to see. All right. So we're starting here with one of our objection tokens, which is the Sword of Power stuck within a rock. I guess we've got a bit of a King Arthur moment going on here. You're getting 6 of these. Quite nice. Simple, but nice. On top of that, we also have a boulder. And again, there's 6 of these. Quite nice texture on these. Really nice. Actually feels a little bit more firm than the miniatures did in our previous video. I'm sure it's the same material. It's probably just because they're nice and thick. But These are nice boulders that will work with anything, quite frankly, not even just this game. Here we have our He-Man mini clone, which is very much just a really tiny He-Man. It's just absolutely hilarious. Just for the sake of comparison, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit just so you can see the actual size comparison. I mean, in the cartoon, these were much smaller, but to the point where you'd never see them on the base, so these very much are representative. This is Battle Axe He-Man, so this is very much a recreation of the original toy, because the original toy, was slightly different. Really, I actually think this might be the nicer of the He-Man, honestly. Here we have our mini Skeletor clone. Again, really nice detail for something this small. But this is still, it's board game plastics, so you're not expecting, don't be expecting the materials that you would get from high class quality wargaming. This is not high class quality resin or metal, but the detail on these are absolutely phenomenal. Make no mistake. If anything, things like this prove that you don't have to have expensive materials to get decent miniatures. Again, for comparison, this is him up against Laser Light Skeletor. So very big difference in the size. Laser Light Skeletor, again, is probably my favourite of the sculpts. This was an unlock that happened during the campaign, and this is absolutely phenomenal. For the record, there's 2 different sculpts of each of these as well. There's 4 of the previous one, and then 4 of this muscle-bound Flexor, and 4 of each of the Skeletors.
I'll get you next time, He-Man. Yeah.
And here we have Terraclaw's Skeletor. Again, just really, really nice detail. And next we have Fangor, which is... Fangor's always been a really weird one for me because, I mean, look, it's a snake, but it's a walrus. I don't know. It's kind of weird. This is Web Store. So if you want to buy things, this is the guy who you come to. Sorry, terrible joke. For us today, Web Store is obviously... it's a store that you go to buy something from the internet. But that's not what it was back in the 80s. Hurricane Hordak. So we will be seeing another Hordak later on in the Evil Horde expansion. But obviously, in this case, nice detail. Lady Slither. Another one of our snake people. I find it interesting that there's some snake people in this box set, whereas I would have thought they would have all been in the Wrath of Snake Mountain box. So here we have Scareglow. If you watched the Masters of the Universe Judgment, or whatever it was called, you'll know this guy played a fairly significant part in that. Kind of a bit of a generic pose, sadly. He's not really doing anything. Stinkor. This is someone that never featured in the original show. He did get a part in that show I was mentioning just a few moments ago. One of the really classic toys, honestly. Zodak. Again. We are starting to see at this point that some of these poses are very much being repeated at this stage. This one in particular, I've seen at least 3 times now. And I know that there's more to come because I'm looking at the box in front of me. Scorpia. This is a character that I really love the look of this character. Blast Attack. Probably one of the more lazy names when it comes to the He-Man stuff. Cool mini though. Again, this is somebody that's kind of just standing there though. Mosquito. Somewhat iconic, but again, probably not one of the biggest characters. I think this is the point where they had started to really, really clasp at straws at this stage. Clawful. Again, But we are just kind of starting to see repeats of poses at this stage. I'm going to stop repeating that line. Sculpting wise, this is really good. Here we have Bounty Hunter Trapjaw. Very different pose on this one. The previous one kind of had a little bit of a weird, I was leaning back while I'm taking a shot type thing. It kind of looked like he was dealing with like the recoil of the shot that he'd just made. It was nice that it was a little different. This is kind of a bit more of a generic threatening pose. I don't know which one is my favorite, honestly. I think I like both of them, but for different reasons. Here we have an absolute staple from the line. This is Faker. So there's a couple of different ways that you could paint this. From the most recent series, he turned out to be like an android, and the toy that was released was like half human, half robot. I'm probably going to paint mine up to look like the classic blue Faker. It's just like that is what Faker always will be for me. But I could see this turning out quite nicely regardless of how you do it, honestly. Ninja, another character where I kind of feel like in the original line they were just clasping at straws. Because this is like, it's just a ninja. It's all it is. It's all it is. Spike-Ore. Finally, we're getting somebody with a bit of a different pose again, which is nice. Too Bad. Another classic villain. Really, really, really like this guy, actually. This is Whiplash, which is like another Scorpion type guy. I really love the spear. This one is the first of them that I've noticed where there is a little bit of a bend. This is the first of them where I'm noticing there is a little bit of a bend, though.
Sorry to interrupt the video, but I want to tell you about the competition that we're running through our Patreon. For every month of support you give our Patreon, from now until April, you will receive one entry into the competition that we're running to win a Shaltari fleet for Drop Fleet Commander. That includes a Shaltari Dreadnought, a Shaltari Starter Set, a Shaltari Frigates box, and a Shaltari Cruisers box. All of this will be sent to one winner. This winner will be drawn at random on our 4th anniversary, which is recorded at the beginning of April. For us to be allowed to send this to you, you need to fit 2 categories. You must be living in a country where it's legal for me to post you something from Australia. You also must be living in a country where it is legal to win competitions. If you do not live in a country that meets these criteria, then I do apologise. There's nothing that I'll be able to do, and I will be forced to redraw it. Please consider supporting us. We'd really appreciate it. All of this was purchased with my own money.
So this is Swiftwind. This is quite sizable, honestly. This is her compared to the Battle Axe He-Man I was showing you earlier. It's really, really big. The details in the wings is absolutely phenomenal. Battle Cat, kind of a nice stoic pose there. Quite like it. Really nice. As before, you can see, and it's a little bit more clearer on this one, the actual stripes have been detailed into the actual miniature, so you don't have to guess where they are. Panther, I feel, has a much better pose in this one. The previous one kind of looked like either that he was like cowering with his head down, or that he was looking over a rock. Like there was no rock that he was standing on, but I think that's what they were going for. We've got 6 deadly plants. There's 3 of this one and 3 of this one. Here we have Cringer next to Battle Cat. I like the fact that they have actually shown you the size difference. Cringer is in his literal stereotypical pose. The cowardly, I'm trying to hide, please don't transform me. Until he grrr. Like, this is literally a recreation of the transformation. I like that. Here we have the man with possibly the most awkward name in all of cartoons, Fisto. It's really awkward. Here he is again on Stridor, which is his classic mount. Really, really, really like this. And here we have Hero. So this is, well, it depends on where, like, generally speaking, this is supposed to be He-Man's son. This is what was supposed to be the continuation of the series and kind of never got there, like, twice. I mean, it did and it didn't. Buzz Off. This is a character that, for me, I always expected to be a villain and was surprised that he wasn't. Because, well, I mean, it's a flying insect man. And that's kind of the way that cartoons usually treat those. Snout Spout. This is another one of the classic toys. I can't say it's one of my favourite designs, but I mean, it is fairly iconic. I mean, it just looks like a guy that's wearing an elephant mask. King Grayskull. The namesake of the castle. There's been a couple of different designs for this. These guys have clearly gone from the inspiration of the original design, as opposed to the one from the most recent series. I actually prefer the modern design, personally. That's just a personal taste, but there's no real right or wrong answer there. Mechaneck. Again, another classic. Really, really weird play design on this one. Basically, it was just a He-Man toy where the head went up. Mossman. Now, the original toy of Mossman was a recoloured Beastman. They were very different in the show, but that was essentially what it was. That they have sculpted this to look very much like its own thing, which is good. Roboto. Again, this is another character that's had a couple of different designs. Most of these designs are going from the original concepts, and this has very much done that as well. One of the two characters of the Rock guys in this, these were not characters that ever really caught my eye. This was very much later in the line where they were losing their appeal, I think, to the main audience. But basically, they turned into rocks, was the whole thing of these guys. So we've got Stone Dar. And we have Rock On. Clam Champ. I know this is a favourite for a lot of people. I don't really know why. I mean, it's just a cool design, I think. I think it was just this that people really loved this weapon. Extender. This is a character I don't remember, honestly. I mean, I have seen it in videos, like, going over the history of Masters of the Universe, but I just don't remember this toy at all. Many Faces. Another classic from the show. Another classic toy. Commander Man-at-Arms. This is probably the design that most people would think of when they think of Man-at-Arms, with his mace rather than the gun that he had in the previous one. Goddess Teela. Now, this is very much designed after the original toy. Goddess Teela, see, the original concept for the Sorceress was that it was going to be Teela at the same time. And they changed them to be different characters at the last minute. But the toy had already been created at this point. Legitimately, one of the most popular toys from the original show. Here we have the Sorceress. Very, very classic looking pose here. Alongside Zor. So Zor is the bird that she turns into. Queen Marlena. Bit of a lighter colour on this one. It's not going to show up on camera quite as well. I like the fact that she has a sword of her own. Like, Queen Marlena very much was someone that was not afraid to get into battle if she needed to. King Randor. This guy really did have a character arc in the most modern version of the show. If you've watched it, You know what I'm talking about? If you haven't watched it, you probably should. And then finally, we have Prince Adam. Really nice detail here. It's going to be fun to paint this guy up with some actual proper pastel colours and stuff. So there we are with the box of power. Look, when it comes to these big box releases from from board games like CMON, the unlocks box often kind of feels like it was thrown together. Where this legitimately feels like a product that you would buy. It seems to it's very contained. It all feels like it fits together. It's a nice even balance of the good guys and the bad guys. It genuinely feels like an expansion in and of itself, rather than just, this is all the extras and we threw it in a box for you. So from that perspective alone, I'm already very impressed. I mean, I've been impressed already anyway. But from a content point of view, the box of power is probably the most surprising thing I've seen so far. Because honestly, I was just expecting a box full of stuff. But the presentation of this really sets this apart from some of the other unlock boxes that we've got in the past. So, I mean, if that's the way that they normally present them, then I really can't say enough good things about it. None of this really changes my criticisms I've had in the past. As much as I was feeling guilty about backing this, I don't. Not anymore, because, I mean, I've wanted this for a long time. Those of you that have been watching the channel have known that since before either of the companies announced it. This is a suggestion that I had made, that this was something that should happen. And then it did happen. So I don't feel guilty about it anymore. But I feel like I can have my opinions and still appreciate this for what it is. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We are going through this entire delivery. So all of the expansions are coming. All of the terrain is coming. We will be going through all of it. Join us on the journey.
You've made it through to the end of another video. Your next mission is to hit subscribe and comment down below. If you'd like to reach out to the team, consider doing that, gettingtabled@gmail.com. Consider subscribing to our Patreon. For only $2 a month, you get early access to almost every single video that we do. Our most active social media is facebook.com/gettingtabled. It's where you'll find everything first. There's also a Discord. There's an invite on screen right now. If you type that in, it'll give you instant access. If you're on Twitter or Instagram, you can find us at gettingtabled. It's not the most active, but it's something we're trying to use more all the time. Come and check out Jason the Bruce at Twitch. He does both video game and hobby content. And of course, without question, play more.